you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives.
Hey everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indie Podcast. I am Eugene Driscoll, a reporter, editor, and whatever else with valleyindy.org, a nonprofit online newspaper covering Ansonia, Derby, and Seymour in Connecticut's lower Naugatuck Valley. So my guest this week on a brand new Navel Gazing is none other than Mr. Larry Dwyer, who lives in Derby. Hello, Larry.
Hey, Eugene, what's going on?
I just wanted to play this song for Derby since we're both Derbyites.
Sure.
Derby, Connecticut. What a nice small Connecticut town. They've got just 5 square miles. That's all they got there.
That's all I got, plus Scary Larry Dwyer. That's
right.
From YouTube, the guy who sings songs about cities and towns,
I've
topic.
never heard of that guy before.
Have you? Oh, see, my son discovered him. Oh, yeah, he's got Ansonia down. He's got Derby down. Right. This is one of his weaker ones, but in case you missed it,
yeah,
no, I won't do it again.
Is there a Bridgeport one, or does he just stick with the Valley?
No, he does every town, every municipality in the state, I believe, is represented. Oh, wow. Yeah, Marlboro. I think that's somewhere.
I used to smoke those.
Oh, no, not me. My parents did. Also, other guest tonight. Maybe you recognize him if you're a hardcore Valley Indie podcast listener. I don't know. Is my lifelong friend, my brother from another mother, Mr. Brian Spears. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
So I think this is Larry's 6th time on Navel Gazing, the Valley Indie podcast, something like that. I was checking the record. Brian's been on 4 or 5 times, and Brian and I do another podcast once a week called Insufferable Bastards. Which is, I think now we can say it's the most hated podcast in Connecticut, I feel like, Insufferable Bastards, which I'm proud of. I'll take that.
I was going to say, if that's the truth, I'm sure you take pride in that.
Yeah. Awesome. It's something to throw in our promo.
Sure.
But I've never been invited onto Larry's podcast yet. I'm still waiting for that. So
I don't have a podcast.
He just does everyone else's in Connecticut.
Yeah, basically. People ask me, and I just jump in. I don't have my own.
Larry never says no. For purposes of this broadcast, Larry is, of course, the guy behind Connecticut Cult Classics, which is a series of double feature screenings at the Strand Theater, the wonderful Strand Theater, which is at 165 Main Street in beautiful Seymour, Connecticut. In
the old antique shop zone there. Everything's an antique shop in that area.
That's right. Yeah.
You're like, oh, hey, a new storefront. Oh, it's another antique store.
It's
insane. I've never seen so many antique stores in one.
They're getting it done. But Larry, what do you have coming up this week or this month for Connecticut Cult Classics?
February 19th at the Strand. We're doing Night of the Werewolf 2, and it's 2 because we've already done one Night of the Werewolf a few years ago, which was American Werewolf in London and Silver Bullet. But for 2, I always knew that I had to do the Howling, Joe Dante's 1981 film, and picking what to play with it. I had 2 that I really wanted to show, and it was hard to choose between Neil Marshall's Dog Soldiers and Ginger Snaps, and I went with Ginger Snaps. I thought that would be a lot of fun. I like Dog Soldiers a lot, I really do, but I prefer Ginger Snaps. I think Ginger Snaps is different, a lot of fun. I think people will really enjoy it, and it's one I've never seen on the big screen, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, you recommended Ginger Snaps to me, or maybe I just saw it. Maybe I don't want to say it was to me. I just assume everything that Larry tweets is directed at me.
It is, yeah.
So you had said Ginger Snaps was a good one, and it was one I had heard about it for a decade. Maybe we'll go into it a little bit later, because first I want to tackle the Howling, right? And obviously, I think the 2 most famous. There's the Wolfman with Lon Chaney, of course, Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
But there is the Beatles versus Rolling Stones debate is American Werewolf in London versus The Howling.
Yep.
Larry,
It's a spirited debate too.
Where do you stand?
I stand with American Werewolf in London. That's my favorite. Rob Capirlozzi, who runs Horror News Network and Connecticut Horror Fest, is staunchly Howling. Him and
Which
I
is why
argue
he
this.
runs the convention, and Larry
And I'm
works
just- yeah,
there.
And
Yeah.
I just work there. Yeah, I guess I can already see which side of the fence
Wow.
Brian's fault I got. But yeah, I think John Marini also is a Howling guy.
Oh,
as
so
the
all the
number one pick.
weirdos. Okay, I got it. All the weirdos like the Howling.
Seems that way, doesn't it? But
Talk about
yeah, listen, I love the Howling as well, but if I pick one, my number one is an American Werewolf in London.
I agree. I love An American Werewolf in London. It's just when I was a kid, I thought the Howling.
It's a comedy.
Well,
basically, yeah.
So's the
Well,
Howling.
the Howling's a scarier movie.
But Brian, I wanted to ask you though, because I knew you were going to say the Howling, because I know you.
Yeah,
But you're a special effects makeup artist. Oh wait, I forgot to like. I always forget to play you. Oh, Brian, this is only going to be audio only, but Brian just held up a what is that, VHS of the Howling? I can't tell. It looks like you're
an action figure.
Figure, right? Yeah.
I got it. Somebody just gave it to me for Christmas. One of the guys I work with, because I love this movie.
Oh wow! So Brian is a special effects makeup artist. I'll get it right one of these days. And I'm just looking at your IMDb right now. Servant, that's Apple TV. You were part of the crew's special makeup effects artist, M. Night Shyamalan. The Equalizer, you're on the crew of that. I don't know if you know that. Dr. Death, In the Heights, Army of the Dead, The Sinner, Jessica Jones, Villains, Victims, The Swerve, Daredevil, Iron Fist, The Punisher, The Defenders.
It keeps going.
Orange is the New Black, ladies and gentlemen. Stakeland.
That's my favorite Brian Spears film.
Depraved.
Depraved is up there too.
The Innkeepers.
You're a big fan of Transfiguration as well.
That's right. I always forget that. That's like really high up on my vampire movie list. I love that was my favorite movie of that year. Completely out of every movie that came out that year, that was my favorite movie. Transfiguration.
It's a very good movie.
Yeah, so I bring all that up, and I'm bragging about Brian. For one, I need to establish cred. For the Valley Indie podcast, we have very picky listeners. You know what I mean? And also, the Howling is famous, as is American Werewolf, but the Howling is famous for its transformation. Right, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
What did this mean as a little kid growing up? You're about you're pushing 65 or so. So you were like 20.
I'm the same age as you, buddy. So let's not forget that. I'm a week older than you. So as old as I am, as old as you are. It's the 80s. And
it came out in 1981.
Yeah. So this is the latex monster boom. This was when practical effects were king. Actually, the Howling was originally Rick Baker was going to do the makeup effects. Rick Baker then called his friend John Landis and said, "Hey, I'm doing this." Or actually, John Landis said, "Hey, I finally got this movie," which he knew about American Werewolf in London for years. It just was one of those pipe dream projects. But he accepted Joe Dante's movie, and then John Landis called and said, "Well, it's a go. We're going to go make American Werewolf in London." So he had to politely refuse. Bow out of the Howling.
Politely. We're all mispronouncing words. Politely.
But, all right. I'm a makeup artist. I finger paint. All right, guys. I'm not this prestigious, I don't write things. I don't even know how to turn the computer on. So he declined, but offered up his protege of Rob Bottin to do the effects. And
Rob Bottin was kind of, Rob Bottin, if you don't know anybody listening, he is a god. But, he did the thing the next year.
Yeah. And he was young. He was like 20 when he did this movie, 19 or 20, literally. He was 14 and made masks for Star Wars.
Let me ask you, Rob Bottin, is he the special effects makeup guy? He was a rock star. He's on the cover of Fangoria. I remember reading him as a kid all the time. We don't really have that today. Like Savini, Rob Bottin, Rick Baker. K&B, I guess, was the last of the rock star makeup stars. Yeah. Was Bottin the guy who kind of went on his own and he sort of disappeared, or nobody knows where he is?
He's definitely disappeared. There's there's rumors, you might see him at a bookstore, the rumor is, and again, this is all speculation from message boards, and
this is what we're good at. This is why on our other podcast we get attacked, because we just
I'm not. This one is researched. It's like some, but I can't confirm it or deny it because no one knows. He's disappeared, but they say he invested wisely in real estate. He's my all-time favorite makeup artist, and that's
Oh,
the
is
thing,
he?
maybe
He's your number one.
he's my number one, and I think
Okay.
this will have also to do with it. Rick Baker, who I think is, check out his Instagram
Yeah,
feed.
of
That
course.
guy is phenomenal. The
Still.
stuff he's doing
Yeah,
after
now.
retirement
Yeah.
is just amazing. This is like what he does for Halloween is awe-inspiring.
I was doing some reading before we came on, and like Larry had said, it's directed by Joe Dante, released in 1981, stars Dee Wallace, and essentially the makeup of Rob Bottin. Again, released the same year as American Werewolf in London and Wolfen. And nobody remembers Wolfen,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
deservedly so.
Yeah, that kind of gets forgotten in the mix.
Who's it,
when you're
Albert
talking.
Finney?
Albert Finney.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Isn't Albert Finney essentially, what's his name from Succession? The father? Is that Cox?
Brian
What's his-
Cox. Yeah.
Isn't that the same guy, right? Can anybody disprove that?
They could be the same role. That is totally
Might be.
true now.
Same dude. So I was reading this thing. It was the oral history on the 40th anniversary of The Howling from something called Consequence.net, The Howling Oral History. And The Howling was essentially birthed by the same people who came from Roger Corman's New World Pictures.
Mhm.
The producer, I guess, was a guy, Robert Remy, Rehme, who had been Corman's head of distribution. And then there was a Joe Dante, who went on to become
Who
sort
wrote
of
it? Somebody else that wrote it.
John
big indie guy.
Sayles.
Yeah, John Sayles.
And all three of them had come from Roger Corman's world. John Sayles went on to become, an indie god of the 80s into the 90s. And I guess now it's
Eight Men Out, man. He made 8 Men Out, didn't he?
Mate One, 8 Men Out, Return of the Secaucus 7, Lone Star, Sunshine State. And now, I assume he's just like a ghostwriter or a script doctor because he's sort of faded away now that everything is a Marvel movie. So he probably wrote Iron Man 9, you know what I mean? He doesn't take the credit. There's also like
rightfully smartly so.
There's sort of deep connections to Connecticut with The Howling. This is kind of a stretch, but The Howling was produced by Avco Embassy.
Yep.
Embassy was a movie studio, sort of a small movie studio that had been around for a while. 1967, it's bought by Avco. Robert Remy headed Avco from 1967 until 1982. No, I actually have that wrong. From 1967 to 1982, the parent company of Avco Embassy was Avco, an aerospace industry manufacturer headquartered in Greenwich with the manufacturing plant on the Housatonic River right across from Sikorsky Airport. So practically you can see the Housatonic River from my backyard if I was ever to invite anybody over. In addition to The Howling, Avco Embassy's lineup in movies included, according to a 1981 article from the New York Times, Time Bandits.
Oh, I love Time Bandits, man.
Phantasm,
Wow.
The
All right.
Fog, Scanners,
Oh, yeah.
Prom Night, Escape from New York, and Watership Down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That
Wow,
Watership
how that
Down,
one slid in there, but
Watership Down was the you guys know that one, right? That was the rabbit movie.
The
where it
rabbit
just-
movie.
the rabbits, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you remember renting that like in VHS as a kid, and suddenly there's
Like it was a
rabbits
little
beheading
like you would
each
think
other.
yeah, you thought it was a kid's movie and all
It's
these
total-
kids die.
It was the best. Like I was traumatized for life. So yeah. And he said in this New York Times article where they profiled him, because he was a big deal. I guess they went from, they make movies for like $3 million and make $100 million, like in 1979. One of Avco Embassy's first successes under Mr. Remy was Phantasm, a low-budget horror film that Mr. Remy frankly admits, quote, didn't make sense, unquote.
I think on our other podcast we called that the Mandy of it's like a 70s version of Mandy.
Phantasm. I
Yeah.
only saw it late. I think that was probably the first
Yeah,
time
we
I
just
really
watched it.
it.
We all just kind of re-binged it.
And yeah, it's awful. So is there anything? You're a Phantasm fan?
Yeah,
I mean-
I got scrims right here.
Oh, Larry
Yeah,
has.
absolutely.
Larry is pointing to for our audio listeners. There, he's pointing to one of his 2 or 3 tattoos, and he's
Yeah.
got the tall man.
I've
Hey,
got 'em right
Spears
on my
worked.
wrist.
Spears worked with Angus Scrim.
I did.
On what?
I Sell the Dead.
Oh, okay, awesome. That's great. I met him once.
And
Real
it was
nice guy.
really cool. Yeah, I met him a couple times. I was on set a few times with him, and then I remember he wrote an article. I didn't have much dealings with him, and he included me in his article about
that's
his
awesome.
experience. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. I love people like that. Rest his soul.
And he was
No.
a prolific writer. He used to write liner notes for the Beatles.
Yeah. I remember. I think it was at a Weekend of Horrors. He did a panel, and somebody asked him about that. I was like, what?
Whatever
no
award
idea.
you would win for that, he won for that too. He was like very like celebrated, like liner note writer.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that being discussed, and I was just kind of shocked. I had no
Like
idea.
acting was like a side thing for him.
Oh, good for him.
So, Larry, about the Howling,
Sure.
before we move on to the next one, what else should people know about this? And then I guess, we should say, it's Saturday, February 19th, right? Did we say that already?
That's absolutely correct.
How do people get tickets?
www.connecticutcultclassics.com. The trick is you need to know how to spell Connecticut, otherwise you're not getting to the website. So hopefully if you live here,
Why I've never been there.
Sorry. I know. That's why I try to go and I can never buy tickets. Every month I'm like www and it never works.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's why you've never been to a show.
And then I'm like, hey, John from the Pint of Comics, can you snag me some tickets? You know, I don't know how much I Venmo that guy over the years.
Oh yeah,
Never
he's not
see
helping.
anything.
He's not helping you. Absolutely not. He wants to keep it all to himself. But yeah, ConnecticutCultClassics.com, tickets available, plenty of raffle prizes, giveaways, a good time to be had by all. Lots of great trailers.
What's some of the crap you're giving away?
Oh, we've got I've got an autographed 8x10 of what's her name? Emily Perkins from Ginger Snaps. I've got some full-size one sheets of the Howling and Ginger Snaps. Howling the novels, because it was, as you know, based on a novel.
Yeah, The Colony or something like that, or
it was called The Howling.
Called The Howling.
Oh, it was called The Howling.
Yeah, but I've never read it, but I hear it's quite different.
Quite
they made
different.
a bunch of changes.
They made in one of the prior one of the latest sequels, which I've never made it up to.
There's like 8 of them, right?
Supposedly,
yeah, something like that.
There's one supposedly closer to the book.
Oh, okay.
Like in the last one that was made or whatever.
Yep. Our friends at Weirdo Wonderland donated something that I don't even know what the heck it is. It's a giant Howling video disc.
Oh,
I don't even remember.
Laser disc or something, huh?
I called it a laser disc. He's like, no, this is a video disc, completely different. But I guess he explained it as like the same thing with what was it with Blu-ray? It was Blu-ray, and there was something else that came out at the same time, and the Blu-ray won.
UHD or something? Or
something like that, yeah. But he explained it as the same thing. Video disc and laser disc came out at the same time, and laser disc was the winner. So, yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff to give away that night. It'll be fun.
Now, how are you doing in terms of, you've been doing this for a while now, right? These screenings essentially once a month. Of course, the pandemic, you had to take some time off as to not to spread your dirty germs. But now, are people coming back like the last one, or are people be comfortable? And the numbers are dipping now.
No, it's a smaller audience. I'd say we're about a third of pre-pandemic numbers. But you know what? We still got to have fun. We still got to get people in there. I make sure people know. Listen, if you're not vaccinated, wear a mask. I'm not checking cards. I'm just holding people to their good word. Just be safe, be careful, and let's have a good time, because we need a good time. People need to have fun. There's a serious lack of fun in the world right now. So
speaking of that, let's talk about Joe Rogan. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to talk about anything. Whoopi Goldberg. No, I don't.
Oh God.
I had asked John Paul Marini there, who's involved with the Knights of Columbus, the group that owns the Strand Theater. And he does sci-fi at the Strand. I'd asked if there's anything else coming up at the Strand. I guess there's it's like a hiatus. This is like, Larry, you're the guy putting on an event in the winter there. But he said, tell Larry Ginger Snaps is weak.
Oh yeah, he's not a fan.
And you should be showing Howling 2.
It's probably a white cisgender male. That is why you have to be more enlightened to like that movie.
He said you should be showing Howling 2. My sister is a werewolf.
No, I probably shouldn't.
No,
that's the Sybil Danning one, right?
That's
with that
the Sybil
ending?
Danning one.
Yeah, let's go on. I want to.
The only problem.
I don't want people writing to my funders.
The problem with showing sequels,
you can't do a sequel. That's the whole. Yeah,
as part of a double feature, is normally the sequel is weak and you have to end with it. Yeah. You want to end with for you guys, obviously when I did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2 and I ended with 2, you would have thought that was,
you should have played 2 twice. Yeah. You just should have played the part 2 twice.
So
I would have went.
You would have went to that if I played 2 twice.
Hey, how bad is that Netflix Texas Chainsaw thing going to be? Let's be honest. No one's listening. That's awful.
did you see what I said about the trailer? I watched the trailer.
How
once.
old is Leatherface?
He's got to be like 75, 80.
That movie came out.
Did you watch the trailer, Brian? Did you watch the trailer?
Oh yeah.
It's basically like it starts out as Ghostbusters Afterlife with the kids moving into the ghost town, and then you've got Sally talking about I've been waiting my whole. I'm like, now it's Halloween Kills. What's going on?
That didn't work.
Whatever that whole. Then they do the monstrous gore scene.
Yeah,
which is just. Oh my god.
Well, I just think like Leatherface coming out of the Texas poppies, whatever that is.
I don't know what that was.
That and like they're trying to like play that off like it's some type of iconic shot. And it just looks ridiculous. Like, why is he in there? What is he? He just rises slowly. Did he know he was being filmed?
Yeah, I don't.
Was that for his Insta?
I don't know. I mean, I'll watch. Of course, I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I'll watch it the day it comes out.
I'm actually intrigued.
I like that it's going to be on Netflix. Yeah,
and I think here's the thing: the movie was supposed to come out theatrically. And they were like, no, this ain't gonna happen. We're just gonna sell it right to Nick.
It had like 19 directors and 100 writers, and everyone keeps getting fired.
One of those, it's one of those
never
movies
a good sign.
That if back in the day this was a theater movie, this would be a February movie when they just dump all the movies. You know?
Netflix got it out of the bargain bin, whatever. That and some Dutch crime procedural.
But that makes me want to watch it a little bit more because I can watch it Saturday at 7 a.m, not caring.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's
See,
Go ahead.
I'm an idiot, though. If it was in the theater, I would go. I went to see that. Yeah. I knew these Halloween movies were going to be horrible. I was there opening night. I know Scream was going to be horrible. I was there opening. I don't even like the first Scream that much, but it's just I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the theater and watch it. So I'm glad that this is opening on Netflix, so I don't have to spend money because I would. Hey, now I get to save money.
I know, Larry, you're a giant Friday the 13th, the game fan.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard, I mean, that game sort of, it fell by the wayside because of the lawsuit between Sean Cunningham and the original screenwriter. But Gun Media, the company behind the game, and it's a great game. And everyone should be playing it on Saturday nights with me until 4 a.m, unless you have some type of life. They're making the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's going to be coming out soon.
So are they going to like support it for a year and then just completely give up on it like they did with the Friday?
No, because the rights are available.
Yeah. Stop.
Oh no, I'm just asking.
I will say this. Media. Out of all the franchise horror movies, Chainsaws are my favorite.
Okay. I don't think I could say that. The first one is a top 3 movie all time for me, but the rest of them, the 2 is great because it's funny and stupid. But the rest of them are just awful. Like,
I mean, they're no more awful than any Friday the 13th, any Nightmare on Elm Street. And I guess I like that it's a real person and not an entity that keeps coming back and back.
Unkillable. Unkillable. Yeah, I get it.
All right, let's take a quick break so we can hear a word from our sponsor, Dworkin Chevrolet of Derby.
Another quiet, tranquil day in Derby.
Oh no, not Chainsaw Chuck again.
This Snow Sticker's gotta go! There's still room to negotiate! These prices are too high!
I don't think it's the prices that are too high.
I'll cut him up like the steak I had for lunch!
He's out to lunch permanently.
I've calmed down now. I'll cut till we negotiate the right price.
Dworkin Chevrolet, Seymour Avenue, Derby.
I hope everybody likes that high-pitched squeal, but that's a commercial from the 80s that's available on YouTube, and I just can never get enough of it. All right, so the next part of the broadcast here, my guests are Larry Dwyer of Connecticut Cult Classics and Mr. Brian Spears of a bunch of stuff that I read earlier and grew up 2 houses away from me. The next part of the show is called Larry's Hot Takes. Larry, you often appear on Pint of Comics, which is a Connecticut-based pop culture podcast. And in a recent appearance, and for the record, this is episode 224, released January 15th, 2022, Your Honor. You said...
And I quote.
I should say here, I tried to pull a clip, but you got... First of all, you're talking about... ostensibly, you're talking about a short circuit the old children's movie about the dumb robot, which was horrible the day it was released. But I couldn't pull a clip because they curse. These guys curse nonstop every other word.
They do.
So you said, I quote, Tremors, I hate Tremors.
Yeah, I did say.
You know who liked Tremors?
So you like
Larry?
Short Circuit?
Nobody likes Short Circuit.
Oh, all right. I'm just getting confused.
No. Somehow they brought up Tremors, just like we're bringing up Tremors. Roger Ebert liked Tremors. You know who didn't like Tremors? Gene Siskel. So you're the Gene Siskel.
I'll take that. I'll be Gene.
What's your problem with Tremors?
I don't know, man. Fred Ward, Kevin Bacon, Reba McEntire. Yeah, Reba McEntire. I don't know, man. You know what? I thought
it's Reba, not Reba. Reba.
I thought I said Reba. When did it come out? 1990-ish?
Yeah, I think 1990. I'll say that.
I saw it when it came out, and I haven't seen it since. I didn't enjoy it then. Wow. I never seen it since, and I've never seen any of the sequels, which I know there are several of. Everybody yells at me about this, so I feel like I might have to give it another shot. I was
offended.
I have nothing against Kevin Bacon or Fred Ward for that matter. I'm a fan of Fred Ward, actually. I don't really remember why I hated the movie, but I just remember I saw it and I didn't enjoy it.
I reached out to John Amenta from Pint of Comics, and I said, give me 2 Scary Larry hot takes that I can ambush with him or ambush him with. And okay, he answered, didn't know Steve McQueen was in the original Blob.
I know. It's not that I didn't know. I just couldn't.
No, there's only one Blob. It's the one that stars Kevin Dillon. I get it, man. I get it.
That's funny that you should bring that up because we might be seeing that soon. But anywho.
It's going to be the Blob and Platoon, something like that. Kevin Dillon double feature.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to do. The Blob and Platoon. That's a solid double feature. And then I did get that wrong. I did get the Steve McQueen wrong in a trivia game we played.
Oh, that's what it was. All right. So then Amenta, though, and I'm sure. Tell me the truth. Did Amenta run back to you and say that this was coming? Did he?
Nope.
No, he didn't. All right. I don't believe you.
I wouldn't. I'd tell you.
You guys are like a sewing circle. But the other thing, so I wanted one more, right? And Amenta, then he gives me that, and then like 3 seconds later, he says, "What is this for? The show?" And then I just respond. I go, "I asked the questions here." He just says, "Good Lord," and then he doesn't. That's it. He has ceased communication. That's the last I heard from him. So thanks for 50% of.
Well, you got two.
If it wasn't for the show, what is
one was mine?
But if
I'm the one that picked out the first one. Huh?
If it wasn't for the show, what does he think you're gonna blackmail Larry?
I think he thought.
Yeah,
I was
going to get fired. I'm going to get fired from my day job.
I was going to go across. I was going to go across to the other side of Derby
and just leave grapoids laying out in his yard.
I was going to wait for Larry to walk his dog and start going like, "Yo, Tremors!" and shaking my fist at him. And then I was going to put it on the Derby community page. We could argue about it for 10 years. All right, so the other flick to sort of wrap this up is Ginger Snaps. Came out in the year 2000. It was written by Karen Walton, directed by John Fawcett, Catherine Isabel as Ginger, Emily Perkins as Bridget. And essentially, at the base level, the simplest description of this plot is that it's a teenage girl who becomes a werewolf, and it's her journey. That's at the very basic. It's actually her and her sister, and it's all sorts of, it's like a feminist horror movie. But let's play a quick clip of the actress Catherine Isabel, who played Ginger, in an interview I randomly stole off the internet. It's probably copyright infringement.
In so many iconic roles over the years, from Ginger Snaps to Hannibal to American Mary. What's the most? Which one is the one that you get most?
I'm actually not going to play the interview. I just like the fact that at the beginning there, she's chewing her fingernails and breathing, and for some reason they mic'd her weird, and they just left that in the interview.
Nice.
In so many iconic roles over the years, from Ginger Snaps to Hannibal to American Mary.
It's a little ASMR action on there. So, like, I mean, I guess. You sort of described why you chose Ginger Snaps. And I guess my personal experience, like I was starting to say at the beginning of the broadcast, I mean, I heard about this movie, but I don't know. At the same time, in my closed mind, I put it with like, what is that? Twilight. I thought it was like a WB. I thought it was like Kevin Williamson horror because it's like, oh, it's teenage girls who are werewolves. This is
it's pretty dark. I mean, it's got comedy, but it's pretty dark, man. It's these two sisters who were both coming up on puberty.
It's
Catherine Isabel
a
is
puberty movie.
That's basically, it's all a metaphor for becoming a woman, and neither of them want to be they make a suicide pact to kill themselves by 16 if they can't get out of the town that they live in. They're obsessed with death. They do all these gags where they take pictures of themselves impaled on fences and hanging, and they're kind of goth, I guess you would call them goth. So like there's comedy, but it's a pretty dark movie. Other than, I mean, Brian can obviously comment on this a lot better than me, but other than the actual werewolf, when they get to it, I think the effects are really solid.
Yeah.
The werewolf itself looked rubber and silly, but thankfully it's held to the end and you only see it for a couple seconds. They were smart about that. But the other effects are really solid for a 20-something-year-old indie film. It's
also a cheap one. It's not what they didn't have a huge budget for this. This was a very low budget
and
movie.
I think it's one of those that kicked around for a long time before they could actually get it made. I think they were talking about it for like 5 years before they even got approval.
I think too, in this world, I mean, this woke world where we have to, like, every studio is clamoring to make a female driven thing. But where it's almost forced. Like the reason I mean, we've talked, I think everyone's talked in this world about Yellow Jackets, and like how that's a strong woman show. Like this is Ginger Snaps is a smart movie. It's smart. It's relevant. Whereas you said, "Oh, it's Twilight." Or you would think it's like Twilight. It's like can be of that era. Like,
there's nothing forced about it. There's nothing forced about it. And it's 20 years ahead of its time because it's totally told from a female perspective, particularly teenage girls, which is you never see that in horror up to that point. It's way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it's way ahead of its time when it was made,
and a damn good movie. Like it knocked me out. I mean, I watched it on Tubi, like during I had a week off at Christmas, and I was expecting nothing, and I was like, wow,
it's just a damn good movie. Like, people are like, oh, for when people are talking about certain movies, they're like, oh, for an indie, this is good, or oh, for a horror movie, this is good. No, this is just
a good movie. Exactly.
It looks like it was made for nothing. I mean, it looks cheap. Even so, although it's got Mimi Rogers in it out of the blue, which is awesome. Because just the fact that she decided to do that movie, she must be cool as heck. But
I don't think Catherine Isabel had done anything relevant at that point. I mean, she was American Mary later, and she's been in Frey versus Jason and other things. But I think she was relatively unknown at that point.
Relatively unknown. If not, she might have done some TV because she's Canadian, right?
Yeah.
So she might have done like local stuff that we wouldn't know.
Yep. Emily Perkins was Beverly Marsh in the original It miniseries, but other than that, again, same thing. She probably did some stuff up there. I don't know. Was Degrassi around back there? Maybe she was on Degrassi. Who knows? I don't know.
I have no idea. But it looks pretty cheap, but it all works. I love it. Like Clerks. Clerks kind of came out of nowhere, and even though it looked, and some of the performances are wooden, and you can tell these aren't maybe classically trained actors, but still, for whatever reason, that magic in a bottle, and it was a great movie. And this sort of reminded me of that. It's always great when you get a totally fresh take on something that is just so much more than it should be. I hope people go see it too. I'm actually bummed that I decide, Larry, I wish you had told me. You could give me a little hint. I wouldn't have rented it on freaking Tubi. But,
you could watch it again. There's no flaw.
I guess I'm weird like that. I only I watch everything once. I mean, Goodfellas I'll watch a couple of times.
All right.
But yeah, that's about it.
But back to what Brian was saying about show. That's one of the things I like about doing these double features is, first, I like to show movies that I know people probably did not get a chance to see on the big screen. I was lucky. when I was 5 years old, my parents were taking me to the Candlelight Picks Drive-In in Bridgeport. So I got to see a lot of this crap. But a lot of people our age, and especially younger, certainly didn't. So I like to let them see something like The Howling that they've, never got a chance to see on the big screen. I'm sure they saw it 60 times at home, but seeing it on the big screen is a whole different experience. And then I like to try to partner with something that they maybe haven't seen at all or heard of, and just maybe, hopefully will be happy with. Usually they're not when I show something like that, but hopefully
I think this is one of your better like double features, like, because I do think Ginger Snaps is a hidden gem. It's very much, I don't think people have seen this movie.
The other thing I wanted to touch upon maybe real fast, and then we'll call it a night, because it is we're recording this on a Thursday night. It's 9:00. It's way past my bedtime. CT Horror Fest.
Yep.
Is allegedly returning to the town of Naugatuck, or is it a borough? I never know.
I think it's a town. I thought it was a town.
To Rubber Avenue.
Yep.
The Naugatuck Events Center in September.
That's the word.
Different this time is it's going to be 48 hours. I don't know if it's exactly 48 hours, but you know what I mean. It's
definitely not. Yeah, we're not going straight. We're not going 2 24-hour days straight.
It's over the course of 2 days. And I don't think we've talked to you since that decision was made, because you're always, you and Johnny Amenta are always like gossiping and
he's always like, don't talk to Eugene. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
So what triggered the decision to add an extra day and CT Horror Fest? If anybody doesn't know, it's a horror festival autograph show up in Naugatuck. The last one, September 21, 2021, massive. It was a lot of people.
So because
is the plan to kill Jake the Snake Roberts this time, because the AC wasn't working in September, and Jake the Snake was having trouble.
And Jake was in the.
You're bringing him back this time. We're gonna do him in. We got him 2 days. Jake, sit there and take it.
The AC was working in the part that Jake was in. That's the funny part. Jake was in the part of the building where the AC was working. He wasn't even in the part that was uncomfortable and hot. So yeah, I mean,
did Mayor Hess get on that? I think that's his name. Did he get it? Did he fix that or what?
They're working on it. They're working on it. Rob and Christine went to them with a list of things that need to happen to that building, and of course one of them was the AC, and the list was agreed to. So supposedly they're working on that and some other things, some other issues that we brought up, and decided based on the size of the crowd last year that it's time to up the ante and see what a 2-day would look like. So we're going to do it. We're going to roll those dice and do a Friday and Saturday. We talked about a Saturday and Sunday, but you've been to a lot of conventions. Sundays just always seems like a drag of a day. Sundays at conventions.
We used to stay to Mondays.
Yeah,
me and Brian that's
pretty low.
Walking out of a horror convention on a Monday morning.
Leave on a
everybody
Monday.
should experience that once.
Yeah. So we were like, let's do Friday and Saturday. Fridays, people are excited, get out of work, go to Horror Fest or take the day off, whatever. So we'll see what happens, man. I think it'll be exciting. I think we've announced 3 guests so far, and we've got some other ones up our sleeve that it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's cool. And I just observed the other day there that you got CT Horror Fest going to 2 days. So that bumps it up a level there. And then you got, 3 or 4 hours away in Southern Jersey, you got Monster Mania getting the cast of Dexter. I mean, so that's So and
Jennifer Carpenter.
Yeah,
big Jennifer Carpenter.
And Michael C. Hall, Anthony Michael Hall. Evil Dies Tonight. I don't know, but
different. It's a different hall.
Yeah, so a lot of good stuff. Brian, did you want to jump in there? Were you saying something before we wrap it up?
Nope.
Oh, and I just killed my mojo. I thought you wanted to say something about my Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh, I did work with him.
Oh, on what?
Cold in July.
Him
and Sam Shepard.
All right.
Great Sam
and he was
Shepard.
really cool. I'll say that. He was really cool.
Anthony Michael Hall was? Really?
And Sam Shepard. Oh, Sam Shepard was so cool.
Oh, awesome.
I remember I was doing a makeup on Michael Hall.
Evil Dies Tonight.
I was doing a makeup on him, and like Sam, I was playing Neil Young's Decade, and Sam came down and sat at the makeup room and just hung out and listened to it. And they kept saying, like, how long are you going to take for this changeover? And he just looked at the PAs that were harassing. He's like, today's all about him. He was all about me today. He could take as long as he wants. We're not leaving until this album's over. And he sat there and listened to Neil Young. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Like, I like jokingly said, oh, you should record that for me so I can have this all the time. Like when a PA knocks on the door and like, can you hurry the makeup changeover up? Yeah. It was so cool. He just sat there and listened. And like, I mean, he probably hung out with Neil Young. You know what I mean? He's that contemporary. Yeah. Like, you know, like I could have asked stories and he would have, but it was just to see him just sit there in a chair, legs folded, just listening to Neil Young was like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Awesome. Take that, Joe Rogan. You meathead. All right. So I guess, Larry, is there anything else you wanted to add before we call it a night here?
No, I mean, you know, we were talking about Connecticut Horror Fest. You can check out the guests we've announced and at cthorror.com. Tickets will go on sale early spring. So check that out and get some tickets. If you're a vendor, you know, there'll be a vendor forum out there. You can reach out and get a table. Good time.
It's one of my favorite horror shows. It's my favorite horror show now. I think a lot of them, and maybe I'll change my mind now that you added 2 days and it gets so busy. I like that it's a very community driven convention. That's sort of what I like. You know, it hasn't exactly got too huge yet.
Right.
Which is, you know, a good thing, I think. You know, you really can hang out. And I know this because we've been past vendors there. Your guests are very open to hanging out with people and talking to people. Like, it's
except Pint of Comics.
Well, yeah, you know, that's because that Lloyd guy scares everyone away. He just flashes his muscles.
Oh yeah.
And but like, I just remember the guys from The Thing came over. We had it was cool. It was really cool. Like they're more
Michael J. White.
A lot of bigger shows is it's so populated you can't get a second. And like what's nice about the show, you can get your FaceTime.
That's one of the things we think about when we're thinking about guests is we try to, like, somebody brings somebody up, just say, for instance, I don't know. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but the next question is, okay, who's met him before? Like, is he a cool guy, or is he just one of those head down, sign your autograph, move along? Because we don't want those people. We want guests who are going to give a good fan experience, people who are, you know, super happy and excited to meet guests. Like, you know, Irony Singleton from The Walking Dead was like one of the best guy. He remembered everybody's name, hugging people. Like, that's what you want. You know, we just want people to have a good time meeting these people. You don't want somebody who's just an autograph machine, not looking up and saying hi to people. So that's one of the things it's literally the first thing we talk about when a guest is presented to us. We're like, who's met him, and is he nice, or is she nice? Or that's it. So I just think it makes for a better experience when the guest is a nice person.
All right. With all that being said, I want to thank you, Scary Larry Dwyer, for coming on the program tonight, and Mr. Brian Spears, as always. Nice to see you again. And I guess I'll end with some old radio ads or radio call letters from the old WADS in Ansonia.
This is WADS, Ansonia, Stratford, Trumbull.
Good evening, residents of the great city of Ansonia. This is Mayor David Cassetti.
That's it.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the